Greetings, I'd like to bring to your attention something you may be aware of, or maybe not, but in recent years, in the last 5 or 6, there has been an increase of so-called sugar babes looking for sugar daddies. This is a really interesting phenomenon, and has everything to do with rising tuition costs at university. In fact, as you'll see, and all the links will be in the low bar as usual, in the last 5 to 6 years, the increase in sugar babes looking for sugar daddies has gone up by 1,200%. Now, let's talk about university tuition, particularly in the United States. It's outrageously expensive. I mean, when I got into Columbia years ago in the mid-90s, I didn't go there ultimately because it was too expensive for my means. $30,000 a year, which was outrageously expensive at the time, and now it tops over $50,000 a year. And ultimately went to a public university, worked a bit, so I was able to do sort of a work-study thing and didn't have any debt, and the consequent master's degrees I paid off with hard labor from working in Asian sweat camps, essentially. And so I don't have any debt. That's nice. But the majority of people going to university these days, millennials, younger people, they do have debt. They have lots of debt. And what do you do about that? Even if you're going for a highly well-paid profession, you're not initially going to be able to pay off the debt. And if you're studying something that doesn't have immediate returns, which, let's face it, is the majority of subjects, what are you going to do? So there's a site called Seekingarrangement.com, and this is essentially a portal for young, attractive women in their prime, usually somewhere between 20 and 30, who try to hook up and get an arrangement with a wealthy sugar daddy. These sugar daddies are typically decades older and have lots of money. They're extremely wealthy. And it's very, very interesting. Now, before I talk about the large-scale implications, I'd recommend you actually watch the video before proceeding. It's quite interesting. You have the host, you have a sugar baby, and then you have a psychiatrist. And actually, the psychiatrist is supporting the sugar baby in her decisions, essentially. And the host is sort of criticizing her. He's going on about blah, blah, blah. Oh, what about getting to know a person or having common interest? Blah, blah, blah. And she says, well, what's more honest? Me showing up at a bar hoping I meet a rich man, or just doing this? And the psychiatrist, in turn, brings up the fact that marriage, up until very recently, has always been about an exchange of resources for sex and companionship. And then the video ends, so we don't hear what the host has to say. But I think this is a really interesting phenomenon, apart from the fact that tuition costs are exorbitant, and usually it's not even worth going to university for the most part anymore. I mean, if I were 20 years younger, I'd think very long and hard about attending university, at least in the United States. I might do it abroad because it's a lot cheaper, but certainly not in the United States, almost certainly not. But the implications of this are very interesting, because this is becoming, as I said, gone up 1,200%, this trend of sugar babes looking for sugar daddies in the last 5 to 6 years. This tells us something. And more importantly, I see this as shedding light onto the true nature of the male-female relationship and their interaction. Yes, apparently there are sugar mamas and sugar boys, but they're a minority, below 15%. The vast, vast majority are women, young, attractive women, looking for wealthy patrons who will support their lifestyle. In the video, you can see a woman who got her tuition bills paid for her and then was asked to stay in the UK rather than going back to the States, and has her lifestyle paid for and whatever else she wants. She stays at home, the guy goes to work, she does whatever the fuck she wants, and I guess when he comes home, she sucks his dick and spreads her legs for him. Now, as I said, this is shedding light into the way things actually work. I actually think this is a positive thing. For one, it is prostitution. It's not essentially it's prostitution. It is prostitution. But it's a good thing, because every conventional relationship, for the most part, is, generally speaking, most relationships, to the qualifier most, are prostitution as well. Most marriages are prostitution as well. So we see here a very open trend that is something that everyone can look at. It's accessible. You can look at these sites. You can observe it. And the protestations that will come and have been coming about, oh, well, what about getting to know a person? All the fluff and the layers that people in the past decades have thrown atop the scrap heap of relationships, well, that's going to disappear. I mean, we all know what happens when there's hardship, economic or otherwise, when there's a natural disaster. I think it was Barbarossa who rather infamously said, if there were ever a disaster, I wonder how fast, and I'm paraphrasing, these libertarian girls would be sucking FEMA dick in order to get rations. And we're seeing a similar phenomenon here. These women are studying whatever, nursing, humanities, or even if they're studying hard sciences. I saw one case I read about someone studying physics, a woman, and they're getting it paid for, and they're getting their loans paid for, paying back rather, and sometimes they get their entire lifestyle supported. I mean, we're talking about very wealthy men in some cases, and tens of thousands of dollars per month to some woman. And I like this, actually. I like this because it's pushing in the public face what it means to be a man and a woman in a relationship, rather than obfuscating it, rather than pretending it's about other things, about inner qualities or getting to know each other in a heartfelt manner, or common interests, or liking the same films. All this mumbo jumbo. We all know at the end of the day what it comes down to. It comes down to performance and resources. And if the man isn't doing that, I mean, these men otherwise would not have access to these young and attractive women. Although I don't find the woman in the video particularly attractive, but that's besides the point. I think this is going to continue to shock the public, and that's a good thing. Because it's different than some random MGTOW man going his own way on YouTube talking about this, or MRAs talking about this, or whatever, or even Girl Rights What talking about this. This is actually happening in front of people's eyes. There are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of these types of relationships going on, and the women are honest about it. Yeah, he gives me lots of money each month. He pays for my bills and my tuition, and I hang out with him. I suck his dick sometimes. Of course, they don't admit the dick sucking part, but they do try to make it more mild. Oh, we go to dinner and we go to movies together and we go to the cinema and blah blah blah. But we all know what it's about. I highly doubt that some rich man is going to give $10,000 a month to some woman just to hang out. That's very unlikely. The punte has to be there. And this is an increasing trend, and the women want to do this. And it just shows so much clarification about all the things we talk about and have been talking about for years. And more blue pill-minded people are going to be exposed to this. And the more they're exposed to this, the more they're going to be in a position to complain about it, to point out the problems with it, and eventually, they will no longer be in that position because it's going to be so ubiquitous, and they won't be able to deny it anymore. They're going to realize that every relationship, virtually every relationship, comes down to do you have resources? What do you do for a living? Oh, you look good. I want to fuck you, and this exchange. Forget inner qualities. Forget common interests. Forget all of that. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And these sugar daddy, sugar babe relationships are demonstrative of that. And the whole world can see it. Now, these things exist in the UK, in Canada, and particularly in North America and the United States, where tuition is just ultra high. And it's growing. Older men want to have sex and fun. These young women need their bills paid. And it's the easiest way to do it. And frankly speaking, I don't blame them. If I were some young hot chick, some guy paying me $10,000 a month just to suck his dick and go to dinner with him that he's going to pay for anyway, I'd probably do it. Why not? It's just the way the world works. So more and more people are going to be in a position, or no longer be in a position to deny this stuff, this state of denial that we're all in about the actual nature of the male-female relationship, as if it were about anything more than a transaction. I mean, that is the main point, right? The transactional nature of the male-female relationship. And who knows, this might have an effect on other things, online dating. I mean, you already see it, supposedly, these online dating sites where you can list how much you make, etc. Now, this is a good thing. It's a good thing because it's honest, and it's just showing people reality. We're not trying to do a giant paint job anymore, or cover things up. So I would encourage you to look at the links as well as watch the video. because this is a growing trend. It's going to grow more and more as tuition goes up. And by the gods, I think this is a good thing. Let there be light. Let the world see the truth, and let the world understand what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. Let's not try to use euphemisms to describe things. Let's no longer obfuscate. Let's no longer lie to ourselves. And with this in the public sphere, for everyone to look at, I think we're going to get closer and closer to the point where we can actually say, yeah, that's the way it is between men and women. And people, even blue pill people, are going to start nodding and agreeing. Even if they find it sad and depressing, they will nod and agree at some point in time. So I thought I'd bring this to your attention and also bring up the point of how important the existence of this actually is. As I said, this is a beacon of light, a beacon of truth, and a beacon of the nature of what it means to be human and what it means to be a man and a woman and interact with each other. It's just a transaction. That's all it is. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys the next time. Take care.